Hey, all right, so let me share this on Twitter. And we're live. So, got a lot of catching up to do. It's been a busy couple of weeks here. And one of the big things that I think everybody, has noticed is, hey, we passed 2,000 subscribers. So that was really awesome. I put out a video. If you haven't watched it, it's a real quick video just thanking everybody and thanking the community. And as always, if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to me, and you can do it from thomashenson.com/big questions, or should work now. You can go to bigquestions.com. Yeah, no, bigdatabigquestions.com, and that'll redirect you to where you need to go to be able to answer or ask any questions. Those will come right to me. So thanks everybody for tuning in today. I have a couple things on the agenda. It's probably going to be a shorter episode. So first of all, if you're joining in the chat, I see some folks that are just joining in right now. Give me a thumbs up if the sound is good, and introduce yourself on the chat, and I'll make sure I'll call you out. So I'm going to get to some news today, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things I've been doing. So I've been traveling a good bit. Like I said, I think you saw the video where I was in the airport, just thanking all the subscribers for us reaching this milestone. But I've been traveling around a lot, a good bit. Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining in and commenting. Sounds good. Great. So I've been traveling around, doing a lot of talks around just artificial intelligence, deep learning, and those types of trends. But one of the big ones is around like smart cities, right? Like what's going on from the capabilities of state and local governments, and how do they manage and how do they deal with, what's coming on, right? Whether they're developing these technologies in-house, or having to support those from the application layer. So just some really good insight. I'll probably make some more videos. You've probably seen some of them in the past where I talked about IoT. So I did a couple of sessions last year at Dell Technologies World. So we'll see what happens this year. But, that's some of the stuff that I've been working on. And then another thing kind of behind the scenes, I want to start a new video segment here at Big Data, Big Questions, because really get a lot of great questions about, okay, where do we start? What do we do, to get started? And so I wanted to go through and just show some of the basics, like more of a demo type opportunity to go through and see, all right, here's some demos. Here's how you get started with Hortonworks Sandbox or whatever. So I'm really looking for a name for it. So I'm gonna do a test, see how many people like it, get some comments on it. But I think I'm gonna do a test episode of like 10 different episodes on just how to get started with different various tools, right? Like, one of the things we talked about on here was what's going on from a Databricks perspective too. So maybe being able to start off with that. So I'm looking for a name. So if you want to put it in the chat here, or if you want to put it in the comment section, that'd be good. Some of the thoughts we had were, getting started data engineer, or data engineering Jedi demos, although maybe that name's copywritten. I don't know how that works. Maybe I should probably check that out before we do it. But if you have any ideas for what you think the demo should be, let me see if I have some of them here on some of the ideas around it. Yeah, data engineer Jedi tricks, data engineer Jedi learning, or what was the other one? I thought I had a good one. Yeah, I don't know. I think something around learning, but yeah, any ideas, right? So demos, going to start doing demos, posting these out throughout the weeks coming up, just around where to get started, how to start learning, and just kind of watching me learn as I go through. Like I went through the sandbox, the Hortonworks Sandbox. I hadn't downloaded it in a while. There's some changes there. So some pretty cool stuff. So excited to get those out. If you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. Also, I wanted to share out a link here. This is something that caught my attention. And so this is actually out of Uber Engineering. So we've talked on here about how a lot of companies, a lot of the big companies that are doing a lot of stuff from a data engineering perspective have their own technical blogs. And so here's one I ran across this week, and I wanted to read it and talk a little bit about it. So talked a lot on here about how I think 2019 for sure, toward the end of 2018, we saw a big push for what's going on in the Hadoop ecosystem. So think of tools like Spark and Hive and, just everything in the Hadoop ecosystem and how it's trying to merge in and see what's going on from the perspective of deep learning, right? So like TensorFlow and PyTorch and anything from that perspective. They want to bridge that gap. Talked about Project Hydrogen, Submarine, what's going on with NVIDIA Rapids. So here's another example too. So on the Uber engineering blog they were talking about, they have support for their own distributed deep learning framework called, I'm going to say this wrong, but Horvod, not sure how to say it, but they've got support for it. They've got, backing and, they put a lot of effort into it, but they just added support for Spark in it. So they just added the ability to move data over using, I think they use Petastorm. So like talking about terabytes and terabytes of data, but they have support so that they can continue to use PySpark and, have access to their deep learning framework. So like I said, a lot of what we've seen in that area is around what's going on from the perspective of want to be able to use Spark for ETL and take advantage of GPUs, or just be able to take advantage of these frameworks that, are going to allow for you to do deep learning. So if you have any questions, just let me know. I think that's an important article that you should read into. It's, like I said, pretty cool. And, if you're interested in what's going on at Uber, make sure you bookmark it and check it up. Like they post regularly and they talk about what's going on from their perspective and some of the things that they've uncovered. So really good opportunity for you to kind of branch out and get some information about what's going on from, some people that are doing some challenging things from Uber's perspective. So, all right. So now let's jump in. And I want to go through some of the questions. Let me see what we got from a big data, big questions perspective. I know we had some questions come in this week, and I want to make sure that we're addressing them here live on Big Data, Big Questions, where it is pouring down rain, and it has been for like a week straight in my area. All right, so going through some of the comment sections. Got a lot of kudos. I appreciate it for us hitting the 2,000 subscribers. But let's see what else we have. Had some more questions coming in to so compare how tough is the CDE 575 compared to the CCA 175. So I'm not really sure. I don't have a background with the. Maybe I'm missing it here. What the CDE 575 is, but the CCA is the Cloudera certification. I did a video on that where we talked with one of my fellow Pluralsight authors and just around some of the stuff that he's done with comparing that. So I need to go back and look at some of that. But basically, he told me that when he went through and built out the Spark course, like he had already had the certification and he built the specs and built the Pluralsight course all around that. So I'll have to take that one as a let me dig into it and get some clarifications on it. So I had another person ask, why the hell I got this video on my suggestion list? Well, I guess maybe Big Data, Big Questions is something that the algorithms thought that you maybe should get into. So so hopefully he'll join in the community, right? So let's see. Big data has a lot of problems. Like big data has a big list of technologies. Where do I start from? That's a great question, right? How do I know which technology best suits me based on my current skills? So how would I approach what to start? I mean, a lot of people heard me talk about it a good bit on here before, but specifically, within data engineering, there's two different routes you can go. You can go more the admin administrative route, or you can go more the developer route. From there, so choosing which way you want to go, that's really going to dictate and narrow down at least hopefully half the tools. I don't know, maybe 30-70, but it gives you a split of, hey, these are the types of tools. And then it goes on to what you want to do, right? And then if you want to look at it from a skills base, do you have a Java background? If you have a Java background, maybe you want to look and lean towards more of the Java-based framework, right? Maybe you even want to get involved with the open source portions of, developing and helping maintain the code, because a lot of it's written in Java, right? Do you have a background in Python? There's an option there for Python, right? You can talked about, even I've got a blog post out there. It's pretty popular just around all the different frameworks that allow for you to do Python and MapReduce. So a lot of different options from that perspective. Do you like more SQL and more database stuff, right? There's so many different options for doing SQL on Hadoop and SQL in the Hadoop ecosystem. So I would look at Hive or Impala or some of the other more, I guess, enterprise data warehouse tools for Hadoop. Flip it over to the administrative side. So if you want to be more of a systems administrator and kind of working in that, that's where we talk about definitely doubling down on HDFS, learning how to use Ambari to deploy your Hadoop ecosystem, Flume, data ingestion, more pipeline development, right? So how are you going to develop and how are you going to bring data into your pipeline? So a lot of different options there. If you specifically, and I'll make sure that I respond to your comment as well, just give me some more context and I can kind of help give you some suggestions where to start. It's a good and bad problem, right? That there's so many things to do, you don't know where to start. But because there's so many things to learn, nobody's ever going to be an expert, right? And you're always going to have, if you like learning, which I do, and I know a lot of people as in the developer community and administrative side, we like being technical. So we love the next new framework or to learn something new that maybe can help us do our job or just distract us. So, all right. So I think we're nearing the end today of our episode of Big Data, Big Questions. So I do have some things. So developer, mostly working on web application, interested in switching roles. I've been reading the Definitive Spark Guide and taking a Udemy course. Well, congratulations, man. That's awesome. My background, actually, I don't know, and maybe I should post the video, but my background was a web developer as well, too. So I was a .NET developer, kind of did full stack. But, from that perspective, I volunteered and got involved on a project, and I kind of did the same thing, right? I got the Hadoop book and I was going through some of the sandbox, some of the tutorials, and fast forward to a couple years later down the project, I was running the Hadoop cluster and doing some of the development on the back end, working with our data science. So, all right. So how to get noticed for data. Okay. I've answered that question a couple different ways. So the question is, how do I get noticed for data engineering positions by my employer or by future employers? So there's a lot of different ways to do that, right? From the perspective of, you can go out, get some certifications, you can go out, go to college, right? You can have this background, build resumes, and apply for, probably, honestly, it's going to take, lots of applications, right? Very rarely do you apply for a job online and just get that role, or even internally, right? Like if you're looking for an internal role, it's awesome that you're showing initiative. Maybe you have to volunteer. So there's a couple different approaches. One of the big things that I advocate, and I just need to go ahead and make the video for it, and maybe have a blog post to kind of support it. But I'm really good on really thinking about branding yourself, right? Like, and sometimes people look at branding as a bad way, but really, if you can build a community around some of the stuff that you're doing, and even as you're learning it, right? Like as you're learning what you're doing with, you said the Spark Definitive Guide and the Udemy course, like if you're comfortable in front of a camera, make a video. And if you're not comfortable, then maybe you need to do it. But I get it. There's so many different ways to do it, but it doesn't have to just be YouTube, and it doesn't have to be like, you could do a demo too. If you don't want to be in front of the camera, do a demo showing some of the stuff that you're learning, right? Or write a blog post, or there's a lot of people that are doing stuff on Instagram, right? Like get involved from that perspective. Write an article if you don't want to set up your own blog. Write an article on LinkedIn talking about, hey, this is something I'm learning. This is kind of what I'm doing. And don't just do it once, right? You need to continue to do it and kind of build that kind of community and build that say around you. And it's not to say that, like, I know so many times, and I'm this way now, and even when I was just starting out in big data, like I was like, well, what can I contribute? What do I know? But it's great. Like, I'm not saying you don't want to plagiarize, right? You don't want to take what you're doing, but you can go back and review the Definitive Spark Guide. Like, hey, I'm a beginner. This is what I thought was good. This is what I thought was bad. Do I recommend it? Same thing with the Udemy course, right? Like, and go through, because there are other people that are just starting out. I mean, if you're watching this channel now, I mean, there's a lot of there's a community of people that, hey, they want to learn from what others are learning, right? So like, if there's something that you really liked in Definitive Spark Guide or that Udemy course, chances are somebody who's sitting right now in a web developer course, or a web developer role, wants to know that too as well. So, I mean, you can provide value and help out. So I'm real big on that. You know what, if hopefully you're subscribed to the channel. I promise to start doing some more, maybe maybe like a 3 or 4 part video series on how to kind of build your brand in some easy idea ways. Because I think as the ideas start to go, and you're like, oh man, that's so smart. Yeah, I could do that. Like, I've already got 2 blog posts or 2 videos or whatever you want, however you want to approach it around for content, right? Like, you can do the Udemy course review, and then you can do the Spark Definitive Guide course, and then take something that you've learned and, maybe similar as you're going through some of the demos in those courses. Now find another data set, and I've got some videos on where to find different data sets. Find a different data set and do it a different way in Spark. And man, that's 3 videos that you can make, or 3 blog posts, and make sure you share those out, right? And then just continue. That's one way as well, like, that helps you remember what you learned, right? Like, it's, fast forward to 2 years from now, right? Like, say you're in a data engineering role, and you want to go for, maybe you're at an associate level, you want to go for a senior, or whatever the structure is, level 1 through 3. But if you have this content and you have these things that you're doing out there, it's like, hey, I'm not just, I'm excited about my career, I'm involved and I'm engaged when I'm here working. But even outside, these are some things that I do for fun to keep learning. So I think that's really good, an opportunity to it. So I'm a SQL Server DBA. Perfect. So can I get a Hadoop admin class? So I will say, if this is the first time that you've seen this channel, so I am a Pluralsight author. I have a couple courses around Hadoop administration specifically. Maybe I should share those right now in the chat window. I will do that. Give me just a second. Let's see. Here is a link to my author page. And from there, you can see all the courses, but specifically on Hadoop administration, I have an HDFS course that I think, whether you're a developer, whether you're an administrator, I think you start there. I think that gives you the baseline of how to navigate, how data kind of comes into HDFS. Because when I first started out, I was really good at Sandbox, got comfortable with it, and Hive and Pig, but then I really didn't know how to navigate HDFS, and that's where your data is. So it's kind of important, right? So I kind of had to take a step back, and that was kind of my premise for the course, is like, hey, no matter if you're using Pig or Hive or anything in the Hadoop ecosystem, I mean, Spark now, you want to know how the data is laid out and how the structure is, and some of the basic commands for HDFS. Secondary, I've got a course that goes through Hortonworks administrative certification. So there's a 2-part course there that you can go through, and there's a lot of other information, and there's a lot of other great authors at Pluralsight too. Like I said, I've had some on this YouTube channel here as well. So. Dude, you were a .NET developer too. Yeah. So maybe this is going to show my age. I was ASP.NET Web Forms 2.0 developer. So we weren't even using MVC when I got, at some point I was trying to switch us and start using MVC and some of the other things, but it was ASP.NET Web Forms. I think that's it. Do I still have the book? Hold on just a second. So this is 3.5, but at one point I was a 2.0. But look how old this book has to be. And it was VB, so we switched to C#. So see, I really was a web developer. That's awesome. Thanks for saying that. So I plan to take the CCA 175 in the future. Do you have any suggestions? I'd love to work as a data engineer at Google, Apple, Netflix. Thanks for thanks for watching, and the subscribers. Like I said, I was really excited just to see, hey, not only to get the subscribers for the community, but like so many questions and interaction. I mean, this is so much fun. Like I said, I mean, I don't know, I was really excited. Ran and got a book, so it makes makes all this fun, right? Um, all right, so I do have some suggestions on the what is it, CCA 175. Now, I haven't taken that certification. I've been more on the Hortonworks side, but I will say that on the video, let me see, give me just a second to look up the video, and I'll send you the link to the video. So we did a course with on the channel for around Spark, and one of Javier Morella. I always said his name. I say his name wrong. So in the video, I did apologize. But let me see. I've got it here. He and I went through an interview, and I talked to him a good bit. He's a friend of mine on the back end, but he's got he's got a lot of courses on Pluralsight around Cloudera and those certifications. So here we go. All right. So I'm going to send you. I'm going to put it here in the chat. All right, so here's the video that I sent. And then I'm also going to send you to his author page on Pluralsight. So he's got a lot of really good courses around that. I think he's at like 15 or 20. I don't know, I hadn't checked. So maybe we'll find out here in just a second. Give me a second and I'll send you to his author page. All right. Yeah, he's at 16 courses. Man, that's awesome. But he's got quite a few courses. He did tell me, because I asked him this question a couple months back. He did tell me that the one that's around Spark, that really follows. Like, he's got the certification, some of the other pieces. So I hope those are helpful as you go through it. As far as getting online, or I'm sorry, getting on. As far as being noticed and getting opportunities from places like Facebook or YouTube, I will say the branding thing does work, right? Like being and branding gets a bad name sometimes too, but it's about being involved in the community, right? Like if LinkedIn's your thing, join a LinkedIn group, right? That talks about it. Make sure your LinkedIn page, reflects what the role that you're in right now and where you're trying to go, right? Too. So being a part of that really helps. Like I said, I'm in my role that I have right now, but I mean, I've been reached out by from Netflix and Facebook too, just because of the things I do on a channel like this. And so, it really does work, but it does take time. But as you do it, you learn a lot too. So, like I said, it's just a different approach versus, hey, I'm going to get this certification, and I'm not saying that certifications are bad. You've heard me advocate for them on this channel, but I'm saying don't let that be the only thing you do. Is that you just got the certification, and now, all right, I'm going to apply for 100 different jobs, right? Like that takes a lot of time. And, not that you don't need to do those things too, but I think building your brand, especially over time in your career, you're going to look back and you're like, man, that's awesome. I'm so glad that I committed to doing 10 blog posts a year, 5 or 10 years ago when I started, right? Or whatever the case is. So I think you'll be really excited. And it's a investment of your time, and it helps you remember some of the things that you learned too, right? Like I said, if you go and look at thomashenson.com, you can actually see where I started learning MVC and what I started doing. Pluralsight account. I think I used to have some free trials and some of the other things. They used to have like little cards and stuff like that. I don't have any, but I will say there's a lot of free resources out there. Obviously, I'm a Pluralsight author, but I think the Pluralsight ones are the best. I was actually a Pluralsight subscriber before I was a Pluralsight author too. So it's one of those things. I always kind of try to take time and learn new things. Like I said, when I was going through learning MVC, ASP.NET, MVC, and some of the other things too. So that's all. I promised my wife that I would hurry in, and so I have to be back in the house in 15 minutes. So, no, you didn't ask too many questions. That's great. But I will address some of these follow-up questions. Do I offer relationship advice? I don't think I don't think you want relationship advice from me. Not that I'm bad at it, but I mean I kind of try to stick to data engineering and technology stuff. So Thanks everybody for the questions and for making me laugh today. I appreciate it. And like I said, if you have any questions, I'll make sure that I check the chat and follow back up with the last two questions. But thank you everybody. I had fun today, and can't wait to talk and see more videos and see more questions come in. So thanks again. Everybody have a great weekend.